what Rodester proved throughout his career was this: through hard work, consistency with presentation, always pushing forward, always challenging, always demanding excellence, a quality band music program is always possible.
There's a saying that states, each man's work will become evident, for the day will show it, because it is to be revealed with fire, and the fire itself will test the quality of a man's work. When asked to participate in the Florida Bandmaster Legacy Project, Rodester Brandon declined an on-camera interview and instead stated, "I would like for my life's work to speak for me." It only takes a brief moment when speaking with his former students, colleagues, fellow musicians, family, and friends to realize that his work does speak for him through the thousands of lives that he made a difference in. Rodester was born on June 13, 1958 in Quincy, Florida, to Annie Ruth Foster Ferguson and Rodester Brandon Jr. Not long after he started school, his family relocated to Homestead, Florida, where he spent his formative years, raised a family, and began and ended his career. He attended West Homestead Elementary, where he discovered his love for music. Recognizing his talents and abilities, the Homestead Junior High band director gave him opportunities to coach and instruct other students, as well as lead the band during practice. While he learned to play most wind instruments, he focused on the clarinet and bassoon during his time at South Dade Senior High School. After graduating high school in 1976, he attended the University of Miami on a full music scholarship, earning a bachelor's degree in music education in 1980. He earned a master's of music degree in bassoon performance from the University of Michigan in 1981. Rodester lived to perform and teach music. He was an educator, conductor, and mentor to many throughout his career, which spanned over 3 decades. After being recruited by the superintendent of schools for Miami-Dade County, he launched his professional education career at Homestead Senior High School. Under his direction, his students were given opportunities to develop musical skills and leadership while being exposed to prestigious performing opportunities.
My first memory of Mr. Brandon was kind of coming into a new school as a junior. And, I just walked into this band room. Back then, it looked like it was this really, really large room. And there's this, this slender young band director who was just dynamic. Mr. Brandon set the tone right from the very beginning. And that was, we're going to do good work. We're going to persevere. We're going to really, grind this out. And then he just cut the path for the rest of us.
You just could feel how much he loved music. And he said, "You want to be in band? You need to be in marching band." And I said, "I don't want to be in marching band." He's like, "Why not? You need to try it out. And, you play the clarinet, just going to be great." And, he was just so vigorous and had this larger than life, personality. Just as he had said, it was a very positive experience. Just try it. And it turned my whole perspective on South Florida. He always made things a lot of fun. And from that day forward, it was just like this big, gregarious personality. And he prompted you to try things that maybe you just hadn't tried before, and with the premise that you're going to like it.
I remember my years at South Dade, my freshman, sophomore. Every time we would play Homestead, I would always see and feel, more so than anything, the energy coming from the other side, from across the field. Homestead band was a force to be reckoned with. And for years, I kept thinking to myself, I need to be over there. I need to get over there. And I finally had the opportunity to meet him one time when he came to South Dade. And I snuck behind to go to Homestead to meet him again directly and just ask if I could be a part of the program. And I was just wowed by the organization, the program. I had to be a part of that family.
I actually met Mr. Brandon for the first time in middle school. He came, which he did, several times. He would come to visit the middle or the junior high school and, to get connected with the students that could possibly come to Homestead, And I remember him saying, son, you're really good. I listen to you play, and come over to Homestead and be a part of something great. And if you work hard, you can accomplish anything. I left a 60 or 70 member middle school band, went to Homestead Senior High School, where there was over 200 people, and everybody was so good, and I was just blown away. And I remember couldn't wait to leave middle school to go into the band. And he encouraged me, son, say, if you're dedicated and you work hard and you practice, you'll be able to get it.
It didn't take long for Rodester to establish a tradition of musical excellence at Homestead Senior High School, as the program became known for its superior ratings and performance of significant literature, garnering the respect and admiration of his peers and colleagues.
One of my first recollections of Rodester was actually when I was in high school. He was already a very well-known and respected director in Florida. One time he came over to visit, and after he worked with the band, he pulled me aside for a conversation, and he asked me what my plans were. And I told him that I wanted to be a criminal trial lawyer. And he's got this huge smile on his face, and he said, girl, what are you doing with those law school plans? You got to forget that. He said, you got to share that gift with people. You're a musician. Just when he said that, and I really looked up to him, and it really affected me. But he planted that seed. I had plans to go to law school, and I even took the LSAT, and I applied to law school my senior year. And then I got a phone call from my principal offering me the job at my old high school. So I figured I would try it for a year, and 30 years went by. It's easy to be influenced by people that we look up to, because he's one of the people that changed the trajectory of my life.
I do remember that positive energy in his band room. And listen, when you walk into a band room and the kids are excited, we know that's for one reason. And that's the man up front, baby. So his legacy will be his overwhelming musicianship, both as a bassoonist and as a conductor. Oh my gosh, musicianship like that withstands the test of time.
His philosophy was people first. Yeah, music was merely a vehicle for him. Now, he was very passionate about music. As you know, he was an incredible bassoonist, a very highly skilled conductor and ensemble leader. His taste in music was top notch, but that was merely a vehicle for him to impact people. So his philosophy was people first, and love people and treat them right.
I was always amazed at his desire and just really intenseness about music and his dedication, particularly early on with his work in Homestead High School. He was always a Homestead guy. He was always very proud of the work there and the work that he was able to accomplish. And so he worked so hard and took so much pride in developing that community. And as we well know, he left a strong and major mark on the city of Homestead itself. Hurricane Andrew came rolling through there in 1992. And I remember by that time, I had known him about 5 years. And again, he took a lot of pride in helping that school bounce back, helping the city bounce back, doing concerts and a lot of exposure with regard to Homestead.
But Rodester was very musical, and he was very deliberate with what he did, very organized. And he influenced me by showing me, hey, you have to have a plan. You have to have a routine of what you're going to do on a daily basis. And that always included basic fundamentals. We always talked about sound. And
he had a passion for what he was doing. And to watch his face when he was conducting, to watch his movements when he was conducting, he would get all into it. You can just see the physicality of everything that he was doing, the love of the music, the passion for what he was doing. The passion was what made people become attracted to him. When you feel passionate about something, it radiates. And for Rodester, that passion for music and what he was doing just radiated out into the audience and radiated through the group that he was conducting. Because I was drawn to my high school band director because of the passion he had. That's what attracted me. I'm sure other people will feel that same thing. Rodester had that effect on countless of other students.
He was very passionate about music. He was so passionate that he didn't just do his program in the school. He was always trying to find a way to help in the communities. Rodester showed me that we have to reach out, into the community also and try to uplift what's going on in that community, whatever that community might be. But watching the things that he did with his bands, taking them on trips, taking them to festivals, getting them in the Midwest, he showed that anything was possible.
Rodester was, quite frankly, better than many of us in music and teaching and in every aspect, and because he worked at it. It's not just he had a lot of natural talent, but he worked at it.
We all knew him as a person of extreme dedication, high integrity, musical fortitude, and all of those things were a part of who he was and how he was able to make that impact in South Florida.
In 1994, Rodester served as the founding band director at Atlantic High School in Daytona Beach. And as he did at Homestead Senior High School, Rodester established another band program known and recognized for its musical excellence and consistency, earning superior ratings at the Florida Bandmasters Music Performance Assessments. Rodester was offered the position of wind ensemble conductor at the New World School of the Arts in Miami-Dade County in 1998. During his tenure at the New World School of the Arts, the band was invited to perform at the prestigious Midwest Clinic in Chicago, Illinois in 2005.
So I left in 98. He took over the job and he did that, I think, until 2006. After I left in 98, he still accomplished a lot of things in another decade or so, give or take. And I know he worked real hard. The highlight of the 8 years that he was at New World is when he got that group to the Midwest Conference. And we all know that the Midwest Conference is really sort of the pinnacle of a performance of a high school band in the state of, just about across the country for that matter, but certainly in the state of Florida. I was there that night and it was just outstanding.
Philosophically at New World School of the Arts, he really wanted to emphasize to me that there's a difference between magnet school versus School of the Arts. He really always wanted me to understand that New World School of the Arts is not a magnet school. It is a School of the Arts. So we must be leaders in performance. He always insisted you should be playing collegiate level and professional level literature. Play what no one else can play. And he also emphasized to attract the best and the brightest from across the entire county.
Because of Rodester's exceptional pedagogy and his uncanny ability to inspire his students, he was honored as a state finalist for Teacher of the Year during his tenure at New World School of the Arts. Shortly thereafter, Rodester transitioned to Miami-Dade College Kendall campus, where he served as chairman of the Music, Theater, and Dance Department. There he established the On Stage at Miami-Dade concert series, which afforded his students valuable exposure.
So when he got the opportunity to go to Miami-Dade, I watched him move that school from virtually being a second-rate institution to one of the top music and art schools, not just music, but dance and art as well, theater in the city of Miami. And his leadership there, I think, cannot be underestimated.
I had been invited to play at a retirement recital for one of my professors at Miami-Dade College. And Mr. Brandon had been he was the brand new chairman of the Music, Theater, and Dance Department. And he was really raising the level of performance, of faculty, of everything at the school.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. I'm Rodester Brandon. I'm chairman of Music, Theater, and Dance over at Miami-Dade College Kendall campus.
He really turned that school into something amazing. Like the amount of opportunities that I, as a student, under his direction, received were like crazy.
In 2010, Rodester founded the nonprofit Miami Wind Symphony, a professional performing ensemble for the community of South Florida. The Wind Symphony was not only a catalyst for artistic expression for professional musicians, but it also provided mentorship for thousands of high school and college students.
When Rodester first talked about doing the Miami Wind Symphony, and he said, Maxwell, I got this idea that I'm going to put together a professional wind ensemble, get all the band directors and other people who are musicians. I'm going to put this thing together. And I said, well, how are you going to do it? He said, I'm not sure yet, but I have this idea. I think he put the first group of band directors and other professional musicians together, and they called it the Miami Wind Symphony, and that impacted all the other programs around there.
We're bringing another level of entertainment to Miami. Throughout the country, there are very, very few organizations like this. But this is a professional wind symphony that allows our community to come out and enjoy artistry at another level.
And basically he wanted to model the Dallas Wind Symphony. That was his inspiration. And we know that our band directors work 3 full-time jobs in a week to get their jobs done. So we can't expect a 10-concert season throughout the year. So we said, okay, let's start with 2 concerts a year, give them something they'll love, and then we can invite their students in. And eventually we branched into the Honors Academy. We were able to expand and do weekly lessons, group classes, master classes, sectionals, and we did side-by-side performances with the young children in North Dade and South Dade.
He wanted to connect Miami Wind Symphony with the community of Miami and what our unique flavor or our sazon is. So he insisted on using excellent local musicians, and he really believed that University of Miami, Stetson University, University of FIU, University of Florida, FSU, FAMU, all the schools that send their music educators to our community are not only producing good teachers, they're also producing good performers. He didn't want to bring in ringers from somewhere else. He wanted to use our own people.
There's a quote that reads, "If a task is once begun, never leave it till it's done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all." Whether it was establishing the musical excellence of a band program such as Homestead High School or Atlantic High School, or continuing the excellence and standards of a New World School of the Arts, or the transformational impact of his leadership at a Miami-Dade college, or being a visionary of the Miami Wind Symphony, it seems that Rodester Brandon never started a project and left it undone. Music speaks for man when words cannot, and that is why it was important to Rodester that his work speaks for him. Perhaps that is why his legacy will continue through the lives of his students and colleagues he has touched throughout his illustrious career.
There is a saying in various cultures and peoples have a way of saying this. A tree is known by the fruit it bears. Mr. Brandon's contribution to all of us, I kind of think of him as like being this tree, right? And, you know, trees have branches that go out and go in different directions. The fruit, the students, are a reflection of Mr. Brandon. You look at all the other students who have gone on and done great and wonderful things, and it's because we had an exemplar in him. That will never be forgotten. That in and of itself is speaking for his work.
Really, a lot of times we touch the water and the ripples go out and we walk away. We don't know where those ripples go, because sometimes the things that you do for other people, the effort that you put in, to help make somebody's life better, that's what we're about. It really shows how much you love kids.
You know, you can't think about Mr. Brandon and not think about his work ethic. And he really helped instill that in young people, the idea that you have to work hard, and with hard work and practice, you can achieve anything.
He was definitely a father figure of sorts. I didn't have one. I don't have one. And he guided me right. And he would always drop his pearls of wisdom, his loving and stern advice of how to be a better man. And I don't have to be a victim of my circumstances, and not to allow the fact that, you know, growing up poor in a trailer park shouldn't stop me from aspiring to my dreams.
As I sit in corporate America, one of the things that I think Mr. Brandon did that really helped a lot was he used humor. You know, we had outrageous results for a small community of kids in Homestead. You know, it wasn't the best resourced school. And as we were learning, he always made it fun. He poked humor at us. He was humorous with himself. Even when he was tough on you, he was always approachable, because it was, at the end of the day, you knew it was this message that was, you know, built on caring. That idea that, look, you work hard, you practice, you make it fun, work hard, play hard.
All my memories of band involve Mr. Brandon either complimenting me, lecturing me, putting me in my place. Everything he did with sincere care. He genuinely cared about me. He gave me great fatherly advice. I would forever remember him yelling, "Sanchez, do better." I miss this man. He molded me right. I survived high school through all my personal problems thanks to him.
I traveled to many countries over the world, get on stage with famous hip-hop stars. While all of that was a good experience, the best time of my life to date is being in the Homestead High School band.
I was able to do things I never thought possible. I never knew that I would want to do these things, like when we commissioned a piece, like when we did Visions of Flight. You know, to this day, when you come across that piece, it says commissioned by the Homestead Senior High School band. I was a part of something great. The Superiors state competition, mind-blowing. I never knew how important, how much of an impact that would be in my life.
He inspired all of us because he knew that music was a commonality. He built on the things that we had in common, but then he reached back and he tapped into all our cultural differences and then showed us how we could play them on the, on our instruments.
Mr. Brandon was not just our band director who, taught us about leadership, who taught us about perseverance, who taught us about stick-to-itness, who taught us about sincerity and really getting and understanding the music. He was our friend too.
Being there when I had no one else, making me a better man, showing me my potential, and that I am a person of worth, because I didn't know that before.
And I think of so many people from high school that to this day we know about classical music in an intimate way. That's such a blessing. The life lessons about hard work, about practice, accountability, responsibility, that if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Those little words, I am just really grateful.
His personality could fill Joe Robbie Stadium, right? But what I found was those students that were recruited by and were taught by Rodester, they were filled with love, not only of music, but love of people.
Rodester had a fire about him, about the music and how he communicated, where, he had a vision for where they should be, knew how to get there, but he did it through personality. He had a way of communicating through his smile, through his energy, through his personality on the podium. Oftentimes very exuberant, for example. It was never a dull moment in a rehearsal with him, because he would always find the link that would ignite the students.
And of course, he had this bigger than life laugh, this $1 million smile.
His infectious smile His energy, like he could talk, but all he had to do was stand up in front of you and smile. And we were like, oh, what is he going to say?
Those of you who know Rodester, you know that he had a smile that if you shined it into the skies, it would call Batman in 2 seconds flat. It was that bright.
Rodester Brandon was a phenomenal human being who brought joy to the world with his laugh, his intensity now, but his intensity, and desire to bring positive and uplifting experiences to everyone he met.
His really wide eyes and his smile and his laugh, you know, because you always knew when Rodester walked in the room and when he was there. He was the life of the party in a very good way. He brought us all such positive energy and love that's really his work. That's really his legacy.
Rodester was a very dedicated person to our profession, but he wasn't a braggart. That was the one thing, that's what I loved about him. He didn't brag. And with Rodester, there's a lot of stuff that he had accomplished. You may not even know about it because that wasn't his style.
So I want everybody to know he was a man of character. He treated everybody the same. He took pride in everything he did. He was a man of integrity. He was passionate about his family, his students, his friends, and of course, music. He was willing to help others.
Rodester was always about helping us. How can I help you? Instead of how can you, what can I get from you? No. Rodester was how can I help you? So, but he never ever came across as he's above anybody. He was always, hey man, let's everybody bring up together. So that really impacted me personally. I mean, he definitely raised my level as a musician, as a performer, and everybody else in FBA. He was always ready to serve.
I think Rodester's greatest impact was his willingness to work with people, willing to always share. He wasn't one of these guys that he had his information and he just kept it to himself. He was always ready to come and help. Even when I took the job at Northwestern, he was right there, willing to help his fellow man, not looking down on anybody's program.
Since the time that I took the job at the high school from where I graduated, Rodester would come by to help, and he became one of my mentors, giving me advice as I would prepare my groups for performances. And I know that he would go around clinicking other groups, and he was very inspirational, motivational.
He was a dreamer, and he made his dreams happen, and we're going to try to continue that moving forward.
His work will be known by the kids that he influenced, the people that he influenced.
I can't say enough about just that impact. When they say, you know, what is your life, you know, meant, what does your life mean? What did you leave behind? What's your legacy? And his is just so consistent and obvious in the music he created and the music that he put forth in each one of us.
And my daughter started playing flute. She was in high school, and I remember she made principal chair in one of the all-county groups, and Rodester was conducting. Somebody that I looked up to so much that I let him influence me into thinking about forgetting about law school is conducting my daughter. Somebody who really helped to change the trajectory of my life was being a positive influence on my own kid. Then he said to me afterwards, he said that whenever she graduated from college, that he would make a place for her in the Miami Wind Symphony that he was conducting. I was so appreciative that he had such a beautiful impact on my own child. The same impact he had on me when I was her same age.
That's going to live on in Mr. Maxwell. That's going to live on in Danielle Brandon and Charlene Brandon, in me and Brent Munger, and so many others I can mention. Kathy Leibinger, like, you know, we are now Rodester. Rodester might have left us physically here, but he lives on with us in our hearts. That's his everlasting legacy here, is how he has impacted us, and now we get to carry on his legacy.
This phenomenon we call life can't be measured using time, for there are lives that lasted less than a year but left a powerful impact that could last for decades. Rodester Brandon is a life that can't be measured with any unit of time. But as documented, it would be measured through his work, not only with his skills as a musician, but as a mentor, a friend, and a family man. For those that had the privilege of knowing him, Rodester is a part of your life. As you live, Rodester lives through your life, the way you perform daily as a father, mother, employee, citizen, as a musician. Although his time and years were not numerous in minutes, the quality, impact, and inspiration will play in our hearts and everyone we encounter. One of Mr. Brandon's last quotes, "If I made a difference, it will be seen through my work." Well, Rodester, we have seen your work and heard from your students, colleagues, and friends. Rest assured, you made a difference. Your work has spoken. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth, and he spoke of the following date with tears, but said what matters most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash.